So, okay, again, thank you very much, Grace, and Regenerative X, also the participants today. And my name is Shanti. I'm glad to present UNIMAS, especially our institute, to share about something that quite significant, I believe, especially when people talk about sustainability lah, on ESG. But very briefly, let me introduce myself. My background is a chemical engineer, and I'm also a chartered engineer from Cambridge, and I have few, well, obviously, number of certifications, and also my passion is very much on the energy and environmental sustainability, and that's how I link to the certifications that I have taken, just to make sure that we constantly update ourselves with the recent requirements and the required competency. Okay. I know a few of my colleagues have presented in few slots in this seminar conducted by Regenerative X, but I think for those who have yet to know our institute, we are one of the research institutes in UNIMAS. We are still considered quite young because we are less than 3 years old actually, and we call ourselves Institute of Sustainable and Renewable Energy, which we have three main divisions: green energy, climate change, as well as energy and sustainability. Those who have worked with us, we know what we are doing. These are the main things that we do. We work with international and national partners, and actually this platform I can see as an opportunity, not just for the sharing session, but also to link people together. Because one of the things that we notice when it comes to the agenda like sustainability, green transitioning, collaboration is one of the important elements, and that's why I believe all of us here today to see what we can do together to make things move faster in a better direction. Right. Also, I would like to relate to the topic that we have today on ESG and regenerative. Perhaps I think it is also fair for me to share as an institute, as a research institute in UNIMAS, we are not working in silo. We try to actually focus on the values that we feel very much aligned to the need of the community, the need of the state government, the need of our Malaysia government, and the need of the global. So this is something that we also want to share, to introduce ourselves on the things that we do. And this is quite dynamic, as I said, but we have started with this for the last couple of years. The things that we focus on, if you can see on the low carbon, energy efficiency, greenhouse gas inventory, circular economy, which of course is very much linked to the way we manage our waste. And of course, as the university or as the higher education institution, capacity and capacity building is our core. So this is where we are trying to not just make sure that we have the elements of reskilling, upskilling in the campus, but also we are doing it outside of the campus as well. And as a research institute, one of the things that we do is on our R&D, of course, and we are trying to focus very much on the sustainable innovative solutions, focusing on the agenda like low carbon, green energy, and things like that. We are quite integrated if you look at the things that we do. And for your information,
sorry, Prof. Shanti, sorry, are you still on the first slide? I just want to check with you.
No, I'm already moving. That's why.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Oh dear.
Yeah. You can just click. Yeah.
Okay.
We can see you on the fifth one. Yeah. Yeah.
Can you see that? All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Thank you.
No
So maybe I don't use the full slide because I don't know.
Yeah. I think yeah. Yeah, just this with the
Everyone can see lah. I was on this slide just now, on the base slide. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is that we are not only working on the science and technology per se, but we have our research fellow who are in the social science, in the community areas, as well as we have people in the communication as well. And this is something that we are trying to show our inclusivity and try to do things in a very holistic manner lah. Okay, so right now let's move to the topic of the day. Okay, before I moving on to the that many slides that I have prepared for sharing today, I just want you to understand that my intention for today's sharing is not something very technical, because to me, it's very much on the try to get people understand why we are doing ESG. A little bit only on the part of how, because that's a bit technical. But I will be sharing a lot on the what. What are the things that we do, and I will refer back to what we have done in UNIMAS, what we're trying to do in UNIMAS, in terms of our ESG lah. So I hope because I know that the participants today are coming from different backgrounds, so talking something too technical also might not represent the interest of everyone lah. So I hope you understand the context of my sharing today. So I think I have shared this a few times during my training, during my talk about the ESG. And for those who are not very familiar in this area, I think I want to spend a little bit more time to explain how the sustainability, the ESG is moved in terms of the chronology. And if you can recall, back in 1980, people are very concerned about the environment, health and safety. And with that, those who are familiar with the DOSH and NIOSH on the safety aspect, there is a dedicated act making it compulsory for any organization to have, I think, more than a certain number of people to have a dedicated safety officer. So that is, because it has been ongoing for a very long time. Therefore, there is a dedicated act to strengthen on the requirement of the safety. So we are yet to see this thing happen for the environment as well. There are some regulatory requirement under the environment officer, but I think that is very much on the construction sectors in Malaysia. In Singapore, they are trying to make it compulsory for any organization or a company or industry to appoint a dedicated safety officer, but we are yet to see that happen in Malaysia. So this is the timeline of how the ESG evolved. So after we talk about environmental health and safety, then the sustainability becomes the topic of interest lah. And then people are moving towards the CSR, where we can see a lot of company or a lot of annual report highlight on the CSR of the company. So that is before the ESG comes in. So now with the ESG in topic of the interest, we can see that a lot of reports, especially those who are public listed, they come up with what we call integrated reporting or sustainability reporting or ESG reporting lah. So that is maybe the trend from 2020 onwards. So this is a bit of history of how ESG comes in. Yeah, right. When we talk about ESG, what drives this ESG actually is we have to look at the global situation. Those who are familiar with the World Economic Forum might have seen this. One of the things that drives the financial instrument or the financial organizations to push the agenda of ESG is due to the risk. And as we know, in business, risk is one of the main things that drive a change management, a new business model in business entity. So this data is in, if I'm not mistaken, is in the World Economic Forum report 2025. I mean, you guys can go and check the report. This is how the foresighting, or how they predict the global risk, meaning to say that what are the risks that will be faced by everyone in this world for the next 2 years and for the next 10 years. So if we can see that, on the right hand side, there are the risk categories, categorized by 5 main areas: economic, environment, geopolitical, societal, and technological. So in the next 10 years, the prediction or the anticipation of the risk is very much focused on the environment. So we can see climate change is one of it, and then we're talking about natural disasters and biodiversity. So they are on the top 4 of the list that has to be taken into any business operation of any organization, for that matter lah. So this is something that we have to understand, the drivers of people going into ESG, and then relate it back to the E aspect of the ESG itself. And then we also look at the societal. You can see number 5 there. The space at the top 5 as one as the main concern of the global risk. Right. I believe most of us here already know about this, the meaning of ESG. So just to refresh us about what does it mean, or what does the term mean, environmental is actually referred to the area of the organization or company's operations that impact the environment. So this one includes the environmental impact as well as the environmental stewardship. So some people refer this as environmental suffering. While as on the other hand, we are talking about how the organization or the company looks after its social relationship, meaning that how it looks after its own people, how it looks after the community, how it looks after all the stakeholders, and not just the shareholders, but all the stakeholders belong to the organization or industry. And G, simply we're talking about the governments, we're talking about the preferences, we're talking about the policies, we're talking about the leadership of the organization.
Prof, are you okay on your side?
Okay.
Okay.
So it is really like, I would like people to see this as a report card. When we go into school, we study, even to the university, we study, and then at the end of the day, we have our report card. For every semester, if in the university, you have your top 4 report card. So ESG can be treated as a report card of your sustainability initiative. So that's why ESG, when people refer it, they refer it as a framework on how the public, the financial institution, the investors assess how a company or organization manage the risks and opportunities. So that's why when I started this ESG, I started with the risk. So when we talk about risk, of course, it always comes with the opportunities as well. So here we talk about how the company manage the risks and opportunities, that shifting market and non-market conditions to it. So we are talking about the profit-driven and non-profit driven. So basically, here it involves the value of the organization as well. So again, we're talking about these 3 main systems: the environmental systems, the economic system, the social system. And when we're talking about these 3 elements, every organization has its unique own system of ESG. Even the university, for example, UNIMAS, is having a different ESG system than UTM or any university for that matter, because we always refer to our value and our stakeholders to drive how we want to create our ESG system. So it impacts the entire landscape of how organization operates. So if you look on the right hand side, ESG is just about feel good corporate responsibility and that's not impact business performance. Some people feel like this is just something that it's a performance. It's something that just for the branding of the company, semata-mata, which is not true. If people really understand the spirit behind the ESG, and if it's done, it is actually an instrument to create and sustain a long-term value. So I will share what we have done in the matter, and we are actually still transitioning in a beginner of ESG, trying to do something that make sure that we really embed the whole spirit of the ESG itself. So it is an opportunity actually if those who embed or who implement the ESG to actually manage the risks and opportunities associated with whatever challenges that you have. And normally the challenges we spell out in terms of the in the environment, social governance, and also economy of the institution. Again, just to summarize, maybe the easiest way to remember the component of E, S, and G. So if we are talking about E, then we have to try to remember what are our environmental stewardships. What do we do to save our environment? In a very easy layman term lah, kan? Apa kita buat for our environment? On the social part, perhaps we can, we can summarize it as our social responsibility. What do we do? Not just, not just what we do with the community, but also with the people who are serving our company. So we are talking about our own pekerja, our own workers, and also the people around our organization area. And last but not least, if we are talking about the corporate governance, this is very much on the things that I mentioned just now, integrity, we are talking about the governance of any organization. So this is perhaps the easiest way to summarize and remember the component of it. I'm not intention to share something that is too technical, but one of the important things that we have to bear in mind before we want to embark on the journey of ESG, yes, ESG is a reporting tool. ESG is something that can drive our policy and whatnot. But one of the important components in the ESG itself is the measurement and communication. So, like I said, when we treat ESG like our sustainability report card, of course, what do we see in the report card is that we see numbers, we see grades, we see benchmarks, and this is what we refer to as measurement. So if you want to embark on the journey of ESG, you have to be able to measure something that is our environment, our social, and our governance. So when you start talking about numbers, that run away from data collection. So during my engagement with many organizations, this is the main challenges when it comes to data collection, because we are not used to collecting data. And this is also what happens in UNIMAS. I'm not saying that UNIMAS don't have data. We do have data, but the data are, most of it are not integrated, or it does not sit in one place. That's what makes things a little bit harder actually to collect and quantify, and then trying to turn it into the ESG data. And for those who are who have successfully completed the data collection and whatnot, then the next challenges come in interpreting the data. And when you talk about the data interpretation, then you have to understand how to align the data that you have measured into the gaps that you have to address. How do you want to set the target, and how do you want to achieve the target, so on and so on. So these are part and parcel of implementing ESG in the organization. And the next part is on the communication part. And some people say, okay, how do we do this? Do we have to come up with reporting and which framework that we want to. So these are the questions that have been going around in many organizations, especially for the first timer who really want to get the ESG. But bear in mind, ESG is about the communication. After we measure, after we analyze, next thing that we have to do is we have to be able to communicate the information to the suitable audience. Who are the targeted audience? That's why in many of my workshops, in consultancy work, the first questions that we will ask those who want to embark on this ESG journey is, who is this for? Is it, for public listed company, perhaps the answer is a little bit easier because they are doing it for the investors under Bursa. But for those who are non-public listed, then you have to really dig into the big why you are doing it, understand what does it mean for your organization. So then with that, only you can really understand and design how you want to communicate your ESG measurement, ideas, vision, and sebagainya to the right people. So this is on the communication part. So perhaps if you want to ask me what would be the things that you have to consider if you want to start this ESG journey, I would say these two things: the measurements part and the communication part. When we want to see, people will always ask, okay, what's going on? How many people have done it? What is it, on the puncak kuasa, okay, or where is this coming from? So we are looking at something closer to us, which is Malaysia and Sarawak perspective. And actually for Malaysia, we have come up with the National Sustainability Reporting Framework. It was launched in September 2024 by the Securities Commission Malaysia. And I think they are still preparing the detailed guidelines perhaps on this National Sustainability Reporting Framework, but we'll be following the ISRF 1 and 2. For those who knows about this ISRF 1, 2, and 2, they are actually the framework that people use to do the ESG lah. Okay. Sarawak, as we know, we are pushing the agenda of green economy, energy transitioning. So this is something that's very important for state. So our premier has launched, the initiative to come up with the annual sustainability reporting. It will be set, the reporting mechanism, next year means this year, because he launched it, he announced this in 2024 last year. So basically this year, they will try to come up with the reporting mechanism to track public sector contribution. So all this while when we hear about ESG or sustainability reporting, it's not by those who are public listed. This is from the national or from the national context, from the Malaysia approach. But state has taken, Sarawak has taken a very bold step, a very important step by announcing this year there will be a reporting mechanism for the public sector as well. So this is something that everybody is starting to prepare for the ESG journey. So when you talk about ESG framework from Malaysia context, I would say MITI has come up with the national IESG, they call it. It's quite a comprehensive document actually. And they call it just transition because this is like the first phase of the national rollout plan for our ESG. So you can refer to this document. It's quite big, but it has a lot of good information if you want to really understand the spirit of ESG in detail. And this is what's inside the document, the framework, and this is how they design the framework. And if you read in that IESG framework, you can see, they are, because this they want to start with industry first, and under the MITI, they want to emphasize it on the manufacturing sectors. So if you can see, if you browse through the documents later on, you can see a lot of guidelines and principles are actually trying to focus on the manufacturing sectors first. Yeah, but actually, as an organization, those who are in the non-manufacturing sectors, you can also still adapt and adopt what's inside this document. Yeah, if you want to start your ESG journey. For Sarawak, this is what I have gathered from the briefing made by I think under the Premier Office on strategies for implementing public sustainability reporting in Sarawak. There are 4 things that have been shared. We are going to align still to the National Sustainability Reporting Framework. Therefore, those who are really already into this, you can also refer to the IFRS S1 and S2, International Integrated Financial Reporting under S1 and S2. That's what they call that's how they refer to the framework lah. Nanti boleh Google lah to find out more. And for Sarawak, we want to focus on the technology and AI, because like I mentioned, one of the challenges in ESG is on the data. And of course, capacity building is very important. This is where I should trying to also play our role to help in terms of the training and whatnot. And the collaboration with the stakeholders, like public-private partnership. Anything that we want to do, this is one of the important enablers if you want to make the ESG agenda happen. Right, just to revisit from the MITI point of view, this is the slide that I've taken from the MITI. But I believe this one actually, for those who are here in this sharing session today, perhaps in any of these 4 things you can relate to your organization. Yeah? So those who are in the import-export, of course, you have to look at things like number 1, and number 2 is actually those who are in the, who are in the banking sectors or who are under the regulations of the investors and financial institutions. There have been some requirement, and the driver comes from that. Customers demand. Okay, what push agenda number 3 is actually coming also from 1 and 2, because let's say they want to impose the requirement of ESG for a public listed company. They have something that they call a supply chain. So even though you are not public listed, but if you are dealing directly with a public listed company, or you are in their supply chain, meaning to say that by who or by have to embark into the ESG journey. So that's where that's how the ecosystem works lah. Yeah. Another thing on the customers' demand, I have yet to see it happening in Malaysia, but if you're talking about Australia, Europe, you can see people are now concerned about their product. In Taiwan, if you want to go into the website of the Ministry of Environment, they have the carbon or the life cycle analysis footprint for the products. Yeah, so that is the initiative coming from the government themselves. So those who have time, you can go into that. Yeah. Okay. Right. Next slide. Okay, so now let's bring it into the perspective of the individual entity. Why do we want to do ESG? This is something general. I mean, even if you go and type on the internet, these are the typical why or the importance of doing the ESG. And one of the things that I want to share about this slide is that sometimes it's hard to understand or to have a buy-in just by looking at this slide. But trust me, once you start the journey, then you can really understand how is ESG helping you in the decision-making enhancement, the risk management, the long-term value creation, and the future bagai. And those who are with me from the beginning, when I have shared the slide on the iSure value, actually that slide comes or created after we embark on the ESG journey. So then we have a lot of reflections and as we come up a proper value proposition for our research institute as well as the UNIMAS lah. So what I'm trying to say here is that these are the things that if you want to really believe in it, you have to start doing it lah. Yeah. Okay. So like I said, okay, this is from the context of UNIMAS, why we are doing it. And leading by example is one of the things lah. UNIMAS, for your information, is the first actually university in Malaysia that come out with official, I would say, ESG report back in 2023. So those who are actually start to thrive on ESG journey are actually on the advantage of how to say it, they are actually leading by example, because you know we heard about people claiming themselves as a sustainable organization, so on and so forth. But the best way to actually telling people that we walk the talk, we lead by example, is actually by coming up with your ESG or sustainability reporting. So the rest of the things that I have on the slide is something that we have is a tried and tested component that we ourselves have done it for the past 20 years, and we can feel that this is the benefit that we get after we embark on our ESG journey. This is something that we also perhaps, you know, this is adapted from the IESG framework. I think you have seen it in the framework earlier, but that this is just to show you, you know, because we don't want you to decide, you know, and on your ESG journey, and then not sure what are the checklists. So treat this as a checklist that you must have, and you must make sure that you are in the ready stage lah if you want to work on the ESG implementation. So these are the things that perhaps you have to dig further and try to reflect on these elements. Do you have it? And if you don't have it, what do you have to do in order to make sure that you have all these enablers around you in order for you to have a successful ESG implementation? Right, going back into something technical a little bit, you know, for those who are not familiar with ESG, these are the things that I want to share with you lah, just the important definitions. So when people talk about the ESG reporting, it's actually in a technical term, people are referring it to the public disclosure. So what do we mean by public disclosure? Is that the report has to be made accessible to the public. Yeah? Dalam Facebook dia tak kira, because Facebook is not considered as public domain. So normally people will put it up on the website. So when everybody Google, they can have a direct access to your ESG reporting. So ESG reporting is anything that you put on the public domain, and it has a disclosure. So disclosure is actually the statement to describe your E element, S element, and G element, and it has to be the data. Dia tak boleh something that is too abstract. Yeah. So something abstract is not considered as disclosure. So that's why if you look at the ESG reporting, sustainability reporting that people have put up on the internet, on the public domain, normally it comes with the data. Yeah. So the purpose of it is to provide the transparency on a company ESG practices and how it performs, so that the stakeholders and the investors know what is going on with the company. Right. What's the ESG standard? ESG standards is actually something that people refer to looking at the, you know, when you have your disclosure, you have your KPI, you have your metrics, you have your report, there are some of the ESG standards that you have to refer to. So normally, if you want to know which standards you belong to, then you have to look at what are the, you know, like I said, who are the target audience? What is this report for? Then if you have a clear idea of that, then you can decide what sort of ESG standards that you want to use. ESG framework is the framework that people use, and one of it is the, you know, when Malaysia come up with its own national sustainability reporting framework, that is also one of the framework. GRI, Global Reporting Initiative, SRF is one of the standards. One of the standards. For the compliance, ESG compliance is referred to the regulatory bodies, and for the public listed, we have Bursa, who are part of this compliance criteria, lah. Yeah. And rating and scoring is what people use to compare the performance, lah. So under Bursa, you have things like FTSE Russell scoring, where they score the company ESG from 0 to 5. So if if you want to know, you can find on the internet actually what are the components or the indicators in the scoring if you want to self-score yourself. But the one who are doing your scoring has to be the accredited or certified external rating or scoring agency lah. Kita tak boleh buat sendiri. Alright, okay. This is one, hopefully, this slide can help you to look at the journey of the ESG lah, for those who want to do it. Here I put it there from goal setting to strategy execution. So these are the important questions you have to ask yourself in order for you to start your ESG journey lah. I think I have said it earlier, the what question, what drives you, and then has you ever established something similar and why you want to do it, and then you have to know what is the why, and of course how is also a very important thing so that you can complete what you have started. ESG performance indicators, apart from the scoring and rating, is actually for those who have a good ESG reporting and implementation, that it can help them to establish what we call accountability lah. Yeah, so it will help you to build trust and credibility as an organization. Of course, it will help you to attract funding and investment opportunities, and also it can enhance your long-term sustainability goals. Because one of the things that when we started our sustainability journey is always an ad hoc method. We don't do it by design. So by having an ESG, then it can help you to also design your sustainability journey or sustainability initiative in a more structured and better way. Right. So doing ESG also, you cannot run away from the KPI. So again, we're talking about numbers and data lah. Yeah. So as this quote says, if you don't know your numbers, if you don't know how many carbon emissions you produce, you don't know your business. So this is something that we have to keep in mind when we are doing the ESG. And under the ESG reporting, this is a very general slide. No, this is a very general information to help you to understand the ESG from a very general perspective. Yeah. So the structure framework for ESG reporting help you to provide a formal and consistent structures of how you want to communicate your sustainability planning and performance to the stakeholders. It helps you to present your data in a very clear way, and people can see it and can interpret it and can understand what you want to do. And it helps people to compare what you do and what your competitors and your partners are doing in terms of the ESG and sustainability. So this is, perhaps the easier way to understand how the ESG reporting help you in terms of your sustainability journey. In higher education, this is what we have to do. And now I want to bring you into the UNIMAS perspective. I think I will do this, the rest of the slide, I will do it very fast because a lot of it is on sharing purpose. So in higher education, as you know, we are just no longer doing the teaching and learning. We have to understand and set the right example, lead by example. And we are also have to act like, the corporate sectors in a way, in terms of securing our financial sustainability, and that's one of the reasons why we are doing our ESG. And of course, we also want to build a more meaningful relationship with the community around us and also the stakeholders. So this is what we are doing. How to put ESG into practice, like I mentioned earlier, in the structured framework, we have seen this. You have to align to your vision and values. You have to know what are the long-term benefits because ESG, you cannot talk about the short term because you don't see the meaning if you just focus on a very short term benefit of it. And also, you have to really understand what are the important indicators for you as an organization, because your indicators and the other indicators will not be the same. One of the things that we do when we want to drive this agenda, because we want to put UNIMAS into one of the key players in the green transitioning and decarbonization. And these are the UNIMAS inspirations that we have when we start talking about, bringing values in terms of the sustainability, not just for UNIMAS purpose, but also to our stakeholders. And this is something also we try to push the agenda for the last 3 years. We are trying to make sure that we are moving from, this is from the KPMG report, from looking at sustainability as, a lot of pages into a more structured but still in silo, the one in the middle, into something that, we want sustainability to be the core of everything that we do. So that is our ultimate goal in terms of our governance sustainability, to show that, we are moving from the beginner into a very mature way of doing our sustainability. So with that, last 2 months, we finally, we managed to get the endorsement from our board for our sustainability framework and governance structure in UNIMAS. So just to recall what we have already in UNIMAS in terms of the big policy features, this is what we have. We have our sustainability master plan, SDG reporting, and even we have endorsed our own UNIMAS relations policy. And this is the framework that we have established after that many years of, working together internally and externally. And this is just how we want to enforce on the carbon reporting or climate reporting on it. Because one of the important components that people are struggling with under the ESG is on the climate reporting, which is very important. And this is the endorsed framework for UNIMAS as an organization. As you can see, the vision here is not is UNIMAS vision. So we are using, or we are referring to university vision as something that drives our sustainability agenda as a framework. So you can see that we are being very inclusive by looking at every aspect of our business goals and operation, and put everything at the center of the sustainability. So now we are moving our future or forward direction on sustainability is referring to the sustainability framework. And this is how we organize our sustainability committee, how we involve everyone, every layers in UNIMAS on our sustainability. So this is the maturity. Maturity means that what matters to UNIMAS, and we have done this 2 years ago. Five things that matters to us. Looking when we conducted our risk and opportunities exercise and maturity engagement with our stakeholders. These are the 5 maturities that we have put in our ESG report, and it becomes the center of our ESG data collection, data analysis, interpretation, and way forward. And this is our ESG report. We have highlighted it. We can share with everyone. We published 2 reports already on our ESG. And this is how we design what drives us and what are the strategies that we put in place to make sure that everything is very structured and sustained. We can sustain our ESG implementation in the month. So we are looking at it from the Malaysia, Sarawak perspective, from the global alignment, from our own institutional sectors as the higher education sectors, as well as the initiative that we are doing, we have done, and what we plan to do, and how we support the state with our ESG, ESG system that we have set in UNIMAS. So ESG reporting is not just presenting a fact, but it is actually telling the story. So this is one of the good things, because sometimes it's very difficult to tell people beyond data. So we take this opportunity to present our data and to tell people what is our inspiration, what are our inspirations when it comes to the data that represent our sustainability or ESG effort in UNIMAS. And this is when we want to implement the ESG, we need a catalyst or So this is a very technical term. We need a high impact project that we feel like can drive our sustainability and ESG agenda. So we develop a low campus roadmap, which really helps us in terms of the E aspect. Because some of the organizations that we have worked with, they are kind of struggling when it comes to the E component in the ESG. So we formulate this, and it has been around for the last 2 years, and this is the framework of our low carbon campus roadmap with the 6 main focus. And this is, sharing with you sort of the timelines that we have in terms of our immediate goals, short-term goals, and the long-term goals. So if you can see, that is our target for 2030, and it very much drive our E agenda in UNIMAS for the time being, hopefully until 2030. Like I said, data is very important, and we are leveraging data, AI, the ability of our own expertise to develop our dashboard and framework. So these are all the digital initiatives that we have established in-house. Our ESG, reporting, our greenhouse gas inventory in UNIMAS. Yeah, the good thing about this dashboard is that people are aware of kind of education and awareness tool as well, because people are aware of how much they are producing, and they're trying to remind themselves on the initiative that they have to do. And this at the same time will empower the faculty to also be part of this e-initiative under the local centers. We also develop our policy apps for our students. We want to start with our students for them to measure their carbon footprint as well as the waste footprint in campus. Hopefully we can fully launch this at the end of this year. We are still in the pilot stage of this. We developed the circular lab UNIMAS to help with working with outside and our own people in UNIMAS to produce something from our waste. Solar, we are in the process of installation, but we have a lot of R&D on solar. We are working also not just in UNIMAS, we are also working with our local authority council on developing the low carbon, which is part of our ESG. With the people in Kampung Asum also, we have a grant. This is something that we managed to secure from our ESG journey itself. On capacity building and transitioning, we are doing a lot of things with people from industry and non-industry sectors. Our ESG projects under this portfolio, we have done ESG coaching. We have also tried helping international labor organizations to develop the ESG modules. A lot of keynotes and similar talks on ESG here and there, including today. The internal workshop that we have done with our staff as well. And one of the things that we want to do is we really want to make sure now our students will have their elective on the ESG process. So this is what we want to do. This is what under our institute, the effort on the ESG in terms of research, consultancy, teaching, capacity building, so on and so forth. Right. Perhaps the last one to recap on the journey. Perhaps you want to ask, how do we do that in the last 2 years? This is what we do. We started with establishing goals. We look at our readiness. We develop our ESG policy and strategy. We engage the stakeholders, internal and external. We implement the ESG initiative. And now we are trying to integrate all the decision making into the ESG. And one of the things that we do is by that's why we established our UNIMAS activity framework, the one that I have shared with everyone. And to end my presentation with almost an hour, we would like to invite everyone here to join our conference in October, which it's not really on ESG per se, but this is on the E part, on the low carbon, one of the also topic of interest. And it is not just for academicians. We involve a lot of people, all the stakeholders in this conference as well. So I think with that, Grace, thank you very much. Over to you.
All right, thank you so much for the insightful presentation. I think everyone has gotten a lot of info from it. So we'll now have a short Q&A session. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to type in the chat. But before that, maybe I can start because I'm also quite curious on the low carbon campus roadmap. I think a lot of our previous speakers also have shared about it. So what was the most challenging aspect of turning this roadmap into action, or like how do you get it started or going? with this low carbon campus?
Okay. After 2 years, right, we realized the collaboration of everyone, because we know that everybody now has the environmental, conscious environmental stewardship in them, but trying to pull everyone together under one flagship so that people will agree on how to align the initiative and share the data, and then after that, with the data, we have to come up with the measurement, because at the end of the day, the question is how much reduction that you have really managed to achieve in your campus. So to me, this is one of the biggest challenges, to get everything together, to pull everything together, the collaboration and partnership, which is very, very crucial.
Okay, great, good to know that. And also for ESG values, let's say just for us individuals, so how can we embed it also in us as individuals? Also, like what are your thoughts on embedding with the students and the faculty? So not just in operations, but also in our normal daily part as well.
Okay. Well, from our from the perspective of higher education, that's why if you notice, I have shared something on the 40 apps. That app is actually one of the ways that we are trying to empower our students. We want to start with our students first because they are the biggest population in UNIMAS. We have about 17,000 of them. So if you can empower at least 10%, that means a lot. And in a lot of activities that we do, we get the students to become, the ambassador of it, especially when we call the students, the representative of the big events that they want to organize. We call them and we tell them, how do you interpret or how do you embed the element of ESG in that event? For example, last year we did it during the convocation, and we start with the waste first. So we try to make them understand about what will be the impact of by organizing this event to the E part of the ESG. So now they, more and more events that are organized by the students, because I said we want to focus on the students first. We want to make sure that they understand how do they make sure that this thing aligned to the ESG values that we have set in. So that is from the university point of view. But perhaps I can share what other organizations are doing. We had a discussion with IRDA, that is a development agency in Johor. So they have a plan to actually embed the ESG into the SKT, or the, how do you say, the individual performance of their the workers in the company. So they set up very interesting. They set up a rubric or indicators for the workers to declare, and they take it as part of the evaluation. Just how you do the BMI. When it comes to the health and wellness, the BMI. So they're trying to establish that also, but under the SG punya component to that. Yeah, so I find very
interesting.
Yeah, I'm yet to meet them to ask next week to ask, how's the progress with the, what would be the challenges, right, in doing so. Yeah.
Yes, to get everyone to also agree to input their data as well.
So your KPI for us is, for example, it's not just how many projects you have delivered, but what is your ESG indicators as an individual. So yeah.
Okay, all right. So I think there are no further questions in the chat. So no worries. Great discussion, everyone. So maybe we can have a quick group photo. Those who can turn on your cameras, I'll give you guys a few seconds. Please feel free to turn on. Okay, ada a few, yeah. Okay, I'll just do a quick one. 1, 2, 3. Okay, all right, great. Okay, thank you so much. All right, so please stay tuned to our social medias as well for updates on our next upcoming session, and also to take a moment to fill out the feedback form which has been shared in the chat. So thank you once again to Prof. Shanti and also all our supporting partners. Thank you so much, and have a good Saturday. Thank you.
Thank you, Grace. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.